Okay. Okay, so we're going to start right now, and we've got Tina Bond on the phone, on the line. We've actually got several people, many people on the line. But Tina, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, your name is one that we know very well in horse racing, especially in New York circles. Of course, Jim Bond, your husband, who's just such a lovely man. And I've had an opportunity to know him, you know, just from the racetrack, spending time on the track. He's had such tremendous horses over the years, like Will's Way and Buddha and Barons, and just like a lot of really nice horses. But for those, maybe the partners that don't or didn't realize that Bond Racing Stables, you guys also have a racing partnership as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, thank you for letting me talk about our family and what this racing opportunity partnership is. We're a family business, and it cares very deeply for the horses, as they're our whole world. Jim's been training horses, like Christina said, for over 45 years, and the list of great horses that he's had over the years is amazing. We've been to Dubai 3 times, we've been to Japan, we've been all over the world with the horses. So if we get a good horse, he's gonna take it to where we need to go. But we have 2 sons, Kevin and Ryan, and I sent them off to college, and they got 4-year degrees, and they decided that they couldn't stand to be away from the business, so they came back and they're his assistant trainers. So basically you kind of get 3 trainers for one, all in one. We have a private 40-stall barn in Saratoga on Gridley Street that we spend from mid-April till mid-November there with the bulk of the horses. We have a farm that's 15 minutes from Saratoga that is home to broodmares, foals, yearlings, layup horses, retired horses. So we kind of do it all. And that's a very special place. We have Barn 7 at Belmont. The other thing is Saratoga being there so much is we can train on the main track this year. We've been training on the main track. Now that the main track will close on Friday, we are going to be able to train at Oklahoma until mid-November. That allows us also access to the turf course, which is pretty instrumental to try to find out if some of these horses are turf horses or dirt horses. So that's kind of special.
Tina, would you mind, I'm sorry, Tina, would you mind checking your volume and maybe increasing it a little bit? Because I don't know, somehow you were fading out a little bit. So I'm wondering if you could just maybe increase your volume, just a touch, if it's not complicated to do.
I got it now, is at 100%, is that better?
Okay, that's fine, that's okay. Okay. Thank you.
Let's see. We have our own vans that we transport the horses to, you know, different racetracks and whatever. And we also have all of our barns. I have video cameras, and we have 24-hour staff. So there's always somebody there to monitor the horses and our investments. And we try to do what's best for each individual horse. Most of our clients have been with us for a very long time, and so has our staff. And we're very loyal, and I think that says a lot about us. We always try to do the right thing for the horses, for the sport, for our partners, for our clients. Our name is everything to us, and we're going to do what's right for everybody. We'd love to have our children and our grandchildren. We have a new baby grandson, and so we'd love to be able to pass this business down to him. So we take it very seriously, and we live by those values every day.
Tina, can I ask you a question? So how is this partnership, how is it set up? Is it different from the other partnerships? Is it similar to the other partnerships? What basically sets you guys apart?
Right, so what makes ours different is we do not charge a management fee to run the partnership. We're going to keep 50% of every horse. So we have a lot invested in each horse. And we're going to offer 5 additional 10% shares. So there will only be probably 6 partners, including myself, in each horse. I think this is attractive. It's a little boutique-ish, but it allows all the partners access to the paddock, to the winner's circle, to get to talk to the jockey, You're going to hear everything about the horse. We do videos when they're training, and we send things via text message videos, updates of where they are, but you're going to hear it right directly from the trainer and not from a partnership manager, I should say. And what would be better than to partner with a trainer and his family? Like I said, we have the most invested in each horse, and we're going to do what's right for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else here.
Now, and where do most of your horses, from my understanding, pretty much most of the horses run in New York, correct? I know that you guys obviously run some in Florida, but primarily in New York?
Yeah, most of them. The New York bred program is so strong, and there's so much. The money is so great here, the purse money, that it's just a big advantage to run for those purses instead of running for $40,000 at Gulfstream when you can run for $85,000 for a New York bred maiden race here in New York. So the New York bred program allows you a lot of opportunity to put money by the horse's name, and we'll go wherever the horse needs to go, but there's a lot of opportunity in New York. And I think you saw with Saratoga and what the purse structure and what the handle was, it was over $800 million. So I think that racing here is very, very strong, and I think it's a good niche, and I think it's good opportunity. We've bred a lot of the horses, but we will buy them at auction as well, and we do buy horses for other clients if they wanted to own 100% of a horse or whatever. So we kind of do the whole spectrum here.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if any of you have looked at our website under jamesbondracing.com, but under the Racing Partnerships section is going to show you each horse that we have available for the 2-year-olds, and there's yearlings there. And the price per share is listed on there. And then there is a monthly fee for the care and training of the horse. And for a horse in training, that's going to run, for a 10% share, is going to run between $400 to $500 a month. So you are an active partner, and you are going to get a monthly invoice. And if your horse runs, like I'm just preparing right now all the statements from the Saratoga meet, all the horses that ran for partners there are going to get a check. And after each race meet, that's what I do, is prepare a statement from the horseman's bookkeeper and send the 10%, whatever percentage of ownership is, the net proceeds I'm going to send to the partners. Mm-hmm. At the end of the year, you'll get a 1099, and to be able to write your expenses off of your proceeds. Let's see what else. The partnership is going to last. Think of a partnership as like a golf membership. So you're buying them out to the horse is like you're buying them out to the golf equity membership. Your monthly fees is going to be your greens fees and your golf cart fees, basically. That I think it's just a good analogy for people to understand, how this is structured. Our partnership will last for as long as the horse is racing. If there's residual, so say the horse needs to be retired and there's a residual value in the filly, more than likely it would be a filly. We would make the decision whether to send it for public auction, or if it's something that we might want to put an add to our broodmare band, we would have the filly appraised, and then the partners would have their option to stay in for the breeding end of it, or they could choose to take the net proceeds of whatever the percentage is of the appraisal. You could apply that to another horse, or we would just cut you a check and you would be on your way with that. The other thing, if there was no residual value, so say you bought into a gelding and at the end of a gelding's career, there's not much residual value. When Jim deems that horse needs to be retired, then at that point, there are no more charges, no more fees to the partners. We are going to assume all financial responsibility from that point going forward, and we will take the horse back to our farm. We will rehabilitate him, retrain him, and find him a good home. And that's very important to us. The retirement is for the horses, and it's what we want to do. We always want to make sure that the horse is safe.
Mm-hmm. Now, if anybody has any questions at this point, I know we'll give Tina an opportunity to finish up with whatever else she has to say, but if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. Maybe unmute yourself, put your hand up, and we'll get to you as we go along.
I think that's probably, you know, I just wanted to touch a little bit about the farm, and that, you know, we have mares for a lot of top breeders in New York and Kentucky. We have mares for Boyd Browning and Phase-Like Tipton. So we fold 7 out of the 10, fold and raise 7 out of the 10 top yearlings that were sold at the 2019 Phase-Like Tipton New York bred yearling sale here at Saratoga. So that's a pretty big accomplishment. Grade 1 Varda, winning Varda was foaled here and raised here. So we're very proud of that. We had 2 stake winners at Saratoga this year. We had the Grade 3 and we had a New York bred stake. So we're very proud. We've raised a lot of stake winners in the past, as well as foaled and raised them as well. So.
Now, I know that you said that you breed a lot of them, but also when you go to the sales, where do you go? What are the venues you typically like to buy horses at?
Well, we'll buy wherever. The New York bred sales, we're going to seek out the New York breds because, like I say, we think that there's a lot of opportunity there with the restricted races, with the restricted stakes. So before you have to go and open company, there's just a lot of opportunity to maximize the return on your investment. And in this game, that's a little bit hard to do, but we're going to try to maximize it as best we can. So whether it's to the Keeneland sale, to Maryland sale, to the sale right here in Saratoga, to the Weanling sale and broodmare sales, there's all sorts of options. We're open to wherever a sale or a good horse will take us. We're going to find it if we can.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think is if you were to give like one piece of advice to new members or members who are now looking to become first-time owners in this type of setting, what would you tell them?
I think this is.
Hello?
Oh, hi, Michael. I see you. We'll come to you in just a moment.
Right.
I think this is a good opportunity to buy into a partnership like this because with a 10% investment, you're going to get you're going to get the actual feeling what it is to be a part of it. You're going to get the information directly from the trainer. You're going to get access to everything. I think it's better to take it and start slow. And I think you guys have all done a great job by experiencing this. And I think the Empire Racing Club is exactly set out for what it's doing. And I think it's giving a lot of people a lot of access and a lot of opportunity. And if some of you are ready to go to the next level, I would say go to the next level, do it easy, see what you like, and you can always build on it from there. I've had a lot of people that will pick 10% of a couple horses, and that way they get their whole sports team is expanding, so they've got more horses to root for and to cheer for. So I think a lot of people, instead of buying 50% of a horse or a whole horse, if you can have 2 or 3 that you have racing, I think it's much more exciting.
Okay, Tina, I think that's it. We don't have any questions for Tina once we let her go?
I got one.
Okay, Brett, yeah, we can have a quick one.
Hello, Tina. I've been on your website multiple times, and the question I have, how do you come up with the prices on there?
Well, Jim really sets the prices. It's on basically what he feels they would be able to earn, as well as what's going on in their pedigrees, where they are in their training as individuals. We had 3 2-year-olds start as well. So there's a lot of them, as they get along more in their training, or if there's something in the pedigree, the value will go up. And so it's based on knowledge of pedigree, where they are as an individual, and where they are in their training, and what the ability that he sees. So that'll kind of tell you what he's thinking right there with the values.
Okay, great question. Okay, thank you, Tina. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it was a quick segment, but thank you. It was very informative, and good luck. And but we'll be paying attention, seeing how you guys do down the road. And congratulations for a great Saratoga.
Well, thank you. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, you can do so at Tina@JamesBondRacing, or my cell phone's all over the website. So if anybody has any questions afterwards, feel free to contact me.
Okay, thank you, Tina.
Great, thank you guys. Bye.
Okay, so we're gonna move on. I know we saw Michael, he came on, and hold on a second. Let's see if I can get him unmuted now.
How's that?
Yep. Oh, there we are. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Christina, thank you.
This is like such a fine, like a well-oiled machine here when we're rolling. Thank you for joining us, Michael. And I know it's a holiday today. I have to say I spaced out when I made the day, and so thank you so much for joining us today. So if you just want to jump right in and maybe just give us, this is Michael Sternkler from Clear Stars Stable. And Michael, if you just want to give us a little bit of background.
Great. Good to see everybody, and thank you, Christine. I see a couple of familiar names. We actually have a couple of Clear Stars investors on the phone, which I did not know they'd be here. So I won't tell you who they are, but all right. So Michael Sternkler, Clear Star Stable. Everyone always asks me where the name came from. So my last name is Sternklar, which is Clear Star in German. So this is a story that a lot of people can probably tell, right? I'm splitting $5 bets with my college roommate and best friend, and probably before many people on this phone were born. And, you know, of course, we said someday we're going to own horses, right? But when you're splitting $5 bets, it's a long way to do that. In 2005, he called me up and he says, you know, we're not actually poor anymore. And we're getting up there in age. If we ever do this, let's do it now. So we started Clear Star Stable. It was just me and my friend Rich. And the first thing I did is I went to a friend who I trusted. His name is Mike Garrity. Some of you might know Mike. He's a equine artist who sells a lot of his stuff at Saratoga. And I trust Mike. And I said, well, you know, I built businesses in my real professional life, you know, based on just hiring great people. And I said, who should I hire as my trainer? Because I don't know that much about this. And he said, there's only one person I would trust you with, and that's Rick Schosberg. And I don't know how many people here know Rick. I'm sure a lot of people know him from his the work he does in retirement. But for this conversation, you know, Rick, more importantly, is just a world-class horseman. And I was fortunate enough, you know, I mean, Rick over the years used to run big stables. He's had Breeders' Cup horses. You know, he's run a number of grade ones, but he was shrinking his stable purposefully at the time that I joined. So I had an opportunity to get a top trainer where I can actually be important to him, right? And, you know, we started out just buying a couple of horses, and God, we probably had 50 or 60 over the years. But, you know, Rick is the only trainer I've ever used, and he's a world-class trainer. He's a high integrity guy, takes better care of my money than I do. And in a sport where that's not always what happens, it's great to have a partner and a dear friend like Rick at my side. So, you know, Rick and I have kind of done this together. We focus mostly on New York breds, although I actually claimed an open company horse a few days ago, because we race almost exclusively in New York. I mean, we might leave New York for an individual race, but we are, you know, very New York focused. And I don't want to go deep into it. We don't have time, but the New York program is extremely rich if you're going to race in New York. And so that's what we've done. Over the years, you know, people, you know, kind of got to know what we were doing and raised their hand and said, hey, I'd like to kind of join this. And, you know, I don't go out and market this. This is probably the first time I've ever done any, if you want to call this a marketing call. I've done it. It's been built through friends and family. I've got about 30 people now who invest with me. You know, the way we do it is I decide I'm going to buy a horse, and I send out an email and say, who wants in on this one? So when you buy into Clear Stars, you can decide, do I want to buy into a 2-year-old? Do I want to buy into a claiming horse? You know, entering the Clear Stars investment group does not mean you're obligated to anything at all. And I've got people who own one horse with me, and I've got people, you know, who might have 6 or 7 with me. I would agree with what Tina just said. If you want to enter investing, you're not going to have any more fun whether you own 2% horse or 22% of a horse. So I would strongly recommend you decide how much you want to invest and then spread it over as many horses as possible. So if you're thinking about investing, the good news is you have a lot of choices, and we're not all different shades of gray. I mean, there's real differences in how different groups run their stable and what they focus on. We are very focused on the passion of horse racing, right? People who love the game, want to be part of the game. I tell everyone who invests in me, you are not an investor, you're an owner, and you have the right to weigh in on anything you feel like weighing in on. You have the right to know everything that's going on. We communicate constantly. And we have a group of people who are just extremely excited about being horse owners. I've opened up to small investors, which a lot of people don't do. I literally have people who invest 6 figures with me a year and people who invest $2,500 with me a year. So I try to be a place that's open, you know, for everybody who's passionate about horse racing. I don't make my living this way. I'm doing this because I love doing it, and I love the community that we've been able to build. So much so that we don't charge, so to speak, you know, fees for our running of the stable. So if I buy a horse for $60,000, I syndicate it for $60,000. What Rick and I do though, is we take ownership in every horse. So if you put $1 in, you know, 5 cents of that goes towards my ownership and 5 cents of that goes towards Rick's ownership. Rick keeps his day rate down, you know, so we've kind of cut a deal with him where he charges us less, but gets a little ownership. You know, some people syndicate their horses for more than they pay them for or charge an ongoing management fee. I basically just align my interest with my partners. I only make money if my partners make money. And so I take 5% of every horse and I put my own money in as well. I was in the racing office yesterday watching a race, and Danny Gargan looked at me and Rick and said, "I really hope you guys win." And I said, "Why is that, Danny?" He said, "Because there's no better show when the Clear Stars team wins." I mean, we just have a great time, right? There are people who get zealous about what we do, want to soak in everything that happens. Everything's available to you, right? Most of our partners, especially during Saratoga, spend a lot of time on the backstretch where they get complete access to Rick and myself. So it's a group that's structured on New York bred horses, medium priced, right? You know, we target allowance and minor stakes horses. That's what we target, right? So we don't, obviously we'd like to run in big stakes, and you know, if you get a little lucky, you get to do that. We're not trying to be $20,000 claiming horses either. So we try to target New York breds who can run allowance races and New York bred stakes races, and we make investments kind of focused on that. The last thing I'll add is that, well, of course, if you want to invest, we're happy, you know, to invest with us. This is a place where people are excited about the group that they're with, and that's not for everybody. I mean, I do have some partners who send a check in, and once a year I hear from them, but those are really few and far between. The folks that really enjoy what Clear Stars is about are the folks that like to engage in every part of the process, understand why we're buying the horses we're buying at the sales, understand why we'll claim a certain horse and not claim another horse. You understand all the medical aspects of horse racing is like professional football, right? Everybody gets injured. And it's just a question of how do you keep people on the field and keep them producing income for you. And so if that's who you are, we might be a great place for you. If you want to be a more passive investor and just show up on race day, again, I'm happy to talk to you about it, but that's not what's unique about us. What's unique about us is the engagement of the process, whether we're at the sales or claiming or training, every step along the way. So I try to fit 15 years into 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm sure I skipped over some things, but
well, Michael, what I wanted to ask you was, so what is the basic framework? If somebody decides that they want to take a look at Clear Stars, what is the basic framework of your partnerships? How do you, I mean, loosely, you could tell us how you structure them.
It's really simple. I'll sit and talk to the person one-on-one to understand how much money they might want to spend, because that might give them a different recommendation of where to spend it, what they're interested in. Some people love the process of buying horse at the sales and seeing that progression. Other people like, I'm going to give you my money and watch my horse race in 3 weeks. So I want to be on a claim. So what are they looking for? How much money they might have to spend? What I'll typically do is take a portion of the capital and apply it towards expenses. So every time I buy a horse, I warehouse about 3 months worth of expenses. So I never have to, very, very rarely have to go back and ever ask for more money. Right. So you kind of write one check I would tell you in 15 years, there's been 4 times we've ever had to go back and say, I need more capital. So we collect your investment up front, we collect a few months worth of expenses up front, and then hopefully the horse starts producing income along the way. Similarly on dividends, right? I'm very cautious in paying out dividends. I like to if I get up to about 9 months worth of expenses, right, that I've got, and it's about roughly $4,000 a month per horse. So if I get between $35,000 and $40,000 in the bank per horse, I'll start to maybe pay a dividend at that point. So my focus is write me one check, and then hopefully never have to write me a check again. And then if we grow the pot a lot, I'll write a dividend. If we sell the horse, I'll write you a check, or you can reinvest it. But it's very personalized to what you want. And then, like I said, you don't have to give me any money at that point. Once I tell you, okay, we're going to the sales, we're buying 5 2-year-olds, right? Would you like to participate in that? Yes, good. Let's decide how much, and do you want to spread it over the 5, or do you want to buy 1 or 2? So I will do that one-on-one with the person to try to align their investment with what they're looking for out of the experience.
Okay. Joe, you have your mic on. Did you want to ask a question, or is it just a Joe B? Did you want to ask a question, or
no? So the host unmuted me.
Oh, is that would be me. I did it by accident. Okay, that's fine. Okay, thank you. So now basically, Michael, how would somebody start? Like, what type of, do you have a certain number of horses right now, or are we talking about what are we looking for, like right down the road, what we're going to invest in?
Right. So that's a great question. Thank you. So right now we've got 7 horses. Our plan is by next Saratoga season to have somewhere between 12 and 15. That will, and you lose horses, you gain horses, but conceptually is to claim 3 to 4 more horses between now and the spring, and get between 4 and 5 2-year-olds. And I guess I should have mentioned, when I mentioned sales, we don't buy yearlings, we buy 2-year-olds in training. We go to Ocala, we go to the Timonium sale in Maryland, Basic-Tipton every year. We've had real success there, stakes horses, New York bred stakes horses coming out of there. If we're in the sale, well, 99 out of 100 times, it'll be a New York bred, right? We will sometimes claim an open company horse like we did last week, if we think there's a reason to do so. I do believe that in 2022/2023, I might expand into Florida. If that happens, we can talk about it with the partners. But right now, the focus is New York racing, New York breds. If we can, New York sires, because that opens up the stallion stakes. So we've got a couple of Lail bands. We've got a Union Jackson, who's a New York sires. That opens up stallion stakes opportunities as well, and take advantage of the purse structures in New York, which are, I think, outside of what's happening in Kentucky now, probably the best in the country.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Does anybody else have a question for Michael before we let him go? Oh, there's Brett. Okay, Brett. Oh. Yes. Go ahead.
How do we get on your email list?
Clearstarstable.com.
Thank you.
I actually have purposely not built a website, but I am doing one probably between now and Aqueduct. And the reason is I like to have the one-on-one conversation. Yes, I can always do that through a website, but by somebody reaching out to me, it allows me to engage in that. So we will have a website in the next couple of months, but Clear Stars Stable, so 2 S's, starsandstable.com.
And Michael, just to clarify, you said that all the horses are with Rick, correct? They're all with they're always with. Okay, we to answer your question, yes, we did, because we had a horse very briefly with Rick, and he helped us through the whole retirement process of that horse, which was fabulous. So we're familiar. We're very familiar with Rick.
You guys know Rick well. I'll tell you, in 2005, when I sat down with Rick after that recommendation, and I was a complete novice, right? I've been, as all of you now know, gambling on horses and owning horses are 2 very different things in what you look at and how you understand the game. But I said to Rick, I said, listen, I don't know about all these medications that people use and all the things I read in the newspaper, and I'm not laying any value judgments here, right? Everybody does what's right for them. I'm just telling you, I'm interested in winning a lot of races and taking care of the horses. And I don't believe those 2 things are mutually exclusive. Mm-hmm. And I said, if you're not, little did I know who I was talking to at the time, but I said, if you're not, that's cool. I'll find somebody else. And we live that mantra. I mean, we push the horses as hard as we can push them, but we'll never prioritize, right, the win over the health of a horse. So again, that's not for everybody, right? There are much more aggressive trainers, and you might want that, but you should know that, we are careful. But I think, even from a business perspective, it helps us because we buy 2-year-olds and they all run till 6 or 7. And I don't think that's a coincidence as well. So, but that's what we're about as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michael, so much for joining us today. And we really appreciate your time.
ClearStarStable.com. Thank you all.
Bye, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so now we've got Michael, and I know that there's Vince, and then Dan Zanata. Hi, there we are.
Dan, you made it.
Yeah, that's it. I was worried if I was going to know when you guys jumped up, but it's very clear. Your name is up there. So we've got Final Furlong Racing Stable, and both we've got Vince Roth and Dan Zanata. They've joined us now. They're already on the line, and I'm not sure who's going to want to start, Vince or Dan, but I'll give you guys the opportunity to decide who wants to start. And again, I'm asking everybody pretty much to start off with the same question: is what is the basic, just to introduce us to Final Furlong.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll go, and I apologize if no one likes the Dolphins, but I've been a huge Miami Dolphin fan since I was like 2 years old. So if you're from New York, I'm sorry. I'm from New York, but I like the Dolphins. First, let me commend all of you for being involved in what, Dan and I feel is the greatest sport. We've been doing this now this is our 11th year, and it started as just 2 young kids investing in horses and other syndicates, and it grew into, what it is today. I'd like to think we're one of the premier New York syndicates. I know other people would argue with that, but I think all of them are great. What sets us a little bit apart is we're really more boutique. We do probably only about 3 to 4 offerings a year, and our specialty is New York bred fillies only. So right off the bat, we're going to rip away your Kentucky Derby dream because we only buy female horses. Now, that said, we hope to one day, Dan's quote is to win the Kentucky Derby with a filly. 10 years so far, it hasn't happened. We'll see, maybe in the next 10 it will. But, we feel the purse structure in New York, and as all of you are, I'm sure familiar with, is far superior to any other in the country. And, if we feel we can zero in on, and I'll let Dan go into this a little bit further, but if we limit the pool of horses we're competing against and focus down on just one breed and just one sex of horses and just one state, we feel like we can, be very, very successful, and hopefully the partnership as well. And I'll let Dan get into a little bit more of it, but, one thing I want to say, we get calls all the time, and sometimes the first question I get is, how much money can I make investing in horses? And I will tell you, Dan and I are both in investment banking. If you're only looking to make a return in horse racing, an investment in horses is probably not for you. What we like to tell everybody is, if you love tennis, if you love golf, if you like swimming, if you like a country club atmosphere and you want to be around like-minded people, that's really what this is. And then if you get a check in the mail, it's just a bonus. So, we're really big into, welcoming the partners and their families and having them come back on the backstretch and meet the grooms and meet the trainer and meet the horses and take pictures. It's a big experience. It's not just what happens, when the gates open and when the horses cross the finish line. But I'll let Dan get a little bit more into specific selection of the horses we have, and then we'll, open it up for questions.
Okay, thank you. Dan, leading into your segment, I'm not sure if you were going to answer this, but also the decision to focus on fillies, if you can explain that to us. What was the thinking behind focusing on fillies?
Yeah, sure. So as Vince said, we have niche and solely concentrating on New York bred fillies. Unlike some other models, we prefer to buy horses earlier on in the development cycle. So we are typically only buying weanling and yearling New York bred fillies, syndicating those horses. Asian dip into the 2-year-old market, but for the most part, and to answer your question directly about why fillies, it's all about the value chain.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Dan? You broke up just a little bit there. I'm not sure if everybody had that issue.
Why Philly? One. Sorry, let me see if I'm. I feel like I'm hearing backlash too. Mm-hmm. Do you hear me better now?
For the moment, yes.
Okay, so we follow fillies for a few reasons. One, colts typically in the marketplace on average are 25 to 30% more expensive in the marketplace if you study auction results. So fillies for the most part are typically a little more economical to buy. We've also just had better luck with soundness on fillies in our 10, 12 years of experience. Earlier on when we launched Final Furlong, we had some soundness issues and some veterinary issues buying colts. So just kind of natural. So we had much better luck in keeping horses sound, consistent on the ratios. Fillies typically have better, healthier airways that withhold the stress of training better than colts do. So two kind of natural, organic reasons why we started concentrating on fillies. And then thirdly is the residual value. A colt, you can have a New York bred, multiple stakes winning colt that basically has no value at the end of their career. Whereas if you have any type of filly in your stable, there's always a very healthy, logical exit plan for the partnership. Whether we sell that horse as a broodmare, we sell that horse as a broodmare in full into the marketplace, or we retain that broodmare to our broodmare, and which we have an ever building broodmare band. And in terms of the economics of the New York bred program and fillies, I'm sure everyone on this phone kind of knows the numbers. Maybe 1,000 to 1,100 New York breds born each year. Figure half those are fillies. Talk about the 500 New York bred fillies born each year. We'll probably see 60 to 70% of those horses in an auction environment at some point, whether they're a weanling, yearling, or 2-year-old career. And between Vince and I, our bloodstock trainers, community selection process in place among our team, where if we go look at 300 or 400 horses, we're able to narrow it down to about 10 of the best physical specimens that we think will be the fastest, soundest, hardiest, highest success rate for us. Our New York bred fillies over the past 3 years. And anywhere from a 2-year-old crop of 1 to up to 4 to 5 horses per year. Over the past 3 years, we've been able to have a 2-year-old get black type earnings, which is a proud accomplishment of what we've done and what we've been able to build. And this year so far, but we look to continue that streak into the fourth year.
So I have one question, and if anybody has a question for either Vince or Dan, please feel free to just raise your hand and let us know, or open up your mic. I have a question. Who are some, and I don't know if Vince or Dan wants to take this, but who are your trainers that you use, and what is are there particular, are you guys predominantly, I know you guys emphasize how important it is to race in New York. Do they ever ship out of state, or do they pretty much stay within the state?
We have 2 trainers, George Abreu and Christophe Clement. We feel they're phenomenal with fillies. They're phenomenal with young fillies. If the horse is good enough to take us out of state for stakes races, we will do it. If the horse is a turf horse and really getting into their groove over the winter months, we often ship down to Florida. But always priority is to race in New York. And aside from being great horsemen, George and Christophe and Miguel, I mean, they're just great people, and they're great to be around. They're great with all the partners. They're great with partners' families and kids, and they make everybody feel like they own 100% of the horse. And that's something that's super important to Dan and I, that, you know, the trainers are really part of the family. And, you know, we've been through others, we've had others, and we just, you know, for the last now 4 years, this is the 2 trainers we use. And I hope, you know, in perpetuity, those are the only 2 trainers we will use.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And now, are there, in regards to the actual selection process of these horses, do you have like a consultant that you deal with to select these horses, or do you pick them out yourselves?
He won't say it, but I think Dan is the best in the business at this. However, you know, we do have, you know, Brandon and Allie from Racehorse Stables work with us, Mike Riccio. Unfortunately, I mean, he's, I don't know if you're familiar with his health situation, but yeah, he's been working with us, you know, over the past years. And then we also involve George and Christoph in every horse selection that we buy as well. So while Dan is the best, he does have a lot of support behind him.
Okay. Now, does anybody have any, Brett, you opened up your mic. Do you have a question here?
Hey, yeah. I Vince, you and I chatted back and forth before about the weekend yearling. I just wanted to say hi to you.
Hey, how's it going? Pleasure.
Good.
Nice to meet you video to video.
Yeah, I was Brett Post at yahoo.com. Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you? Pleasure.
Do we have any other questions? Aaron, do you have a question? Hold on, I think Aaron's got a question. Let me try to open up. Oh,
yeah,
there you
so
are.
I mean, I'm familiar with, how you doing, Vince? I'm familiar with the Clear Stars and Zilla, who's coming on next. Do you guys, is each horse an individual? Do you sell them as a package for the year? Because the way you were talking was like, seems like you buy them by the crop. So is it something that the people can pick and choose an individual horse? And the other thing, you know, one of our main people at Empire Racing Club is Len Green. He's an accountant. And maybe you could talk about how these people get LLCs and if they'll become passive or active investors for tax purposes.
Absolutely. Well, Len Green is our accountant as well.
Well, you're in good hands.
Yes, he's very good. Each horse is a separate, so how we establish it is each horse is a separate LLC. In the past, we've thought about doing, you know, multiple horse partnerships. For us, they just never worked out. So each horse is a separate offering that we put out. Each horse is a separate LLC. Every individual becomes an active member of the LLC and gets all the rights and pass-throughs that Len will allow. But yeah, so you would have the selection of about the 4 to 5 offerings that we put out annually. One thing Dan didn't mention, I know his phone was breaking up a bit. You know, one thing that we've done and we want to continue to do as well is if your investments in the fillies are successful on the track, we do always want to transition that into a potential broodmare partnership should partners want to be involved in that. So we've done it with 3 horses now. They've all been fairly, you know, very successful. I mean, all the partners love it. So you really get the full gamut. You get, you know, the 1-year-old baby that's on the farm and all the updates and pictures. And trust me, we have, you know, more people than I could count fly down to Ocala just to pet the horse on the nose, which I think is awesome. Up to their racing career, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, and then into the transition of potential broodmare. And we would want to take you as a partner along that whole path.
Okay. Okay, great. Wonderful. And then Len Green is on the phone. And what we'll do is at the end of the segment, if he wouldn't mind hanging on, I'm sure Len's going to have some insight to give us and to tell us a few things. But does anybody else have a question?
Good thing I said Len was good.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
Exactly.
I'm glad I plugged him too then.
Yes, very good.
Any more? Well, guys, thank you very much for joining us. I know, again, it's very brief. We're doing brief segments, but if anybody else has any questions for either of you, where can they contact you?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty active on social media. Our website is gofinalfurlong.com. I'd also be happy to send anybody hats or koozies or whatever if they want to reach out, because, you know, whether you're not, you partner with us or one of the other guys or girls that, you know, are running a syndicate, like I said, I just commend you for assisting us and, you know, the whole horse world. And, you know, our goal is to make this, and I joke all the time, as popular as the NFL. I know that'll probably never happen, but, you know, with individuals like you that are involved and passionate about it, it just makes our sport that much better. So thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks so much. And Dan, thank you as well for joining us today.
Thanks. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you. Good luck, guys.
Does my audio work?
Yes, you are. Yep, you're up, Mike. We could see you when I can see you when I can hear you. I think everybody else can too.
I'm using a computer I don't normally use.
Okay.
I noticed where my name would be, it says 122654.
That's fine. I saw you already, and it says Zilla, so we knew you were on there. So we've got there on. No, that's good. It's good. It's for me. It's perfect because then I know you guys are up. But it's perfect timing. Actually, now that you jumped on. So we've got Mike Piazza from Zilla Racing Stables, and again, several. I'm sure many of you, if you pay attention, you would have seen Zilla competing in New York, of course. And Mike, nice to have you on. And can you just give us a little bit of a background on Zilla?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Long time no see, Aaron. We just had pizza together. Yeah, so we're a racing partnership in New York. We started in 2012, and we do everything from yearling purchases to claiming partnerships. We use Brad Cox, Ray Handel, Brittany Russell, Orlando Noda, and we have a horse with Danny Gargan. We also use Tom Morley, bunch of trainers. We kind of spread it around. You know, in a perfect world, I wish I could give a horse to a lot more trainers because so many of them have so many qualities that I feel we would match up with, but you can only use so many.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And now what is the typical structure? First of all, how many horses do you have in your stable right now? And what is the typical structure that you basically structure your the partnership around?
Currently, I believe we have 23 horses. Claiming partnerships, we typically will get more partners on a claiming partnership than our 2-year-old purchases and yearlings. There's just a bigger demand for claiming horses right now. So like we bought a yearling just at the recent New York bred yearling sale. We have a little bit available left on that horse, which is unusual for us. The 2-year-olds sell a little bit faster than the yearlings, but the claiming partnerships right now are just through the roof. And we have about 250 partners who some want nothing to do with claimers. They want nothing but young horses. Some want nothing but claiming horses and don't want the young horses. And some want a little bit of everything. So we just try to keep adapting to the demand, which just seems to be shifting more towards horses that are closer to running.
Okay. And also you've had some success. I know that you had some success at Saratoga this summer. And do you try to basically, do you race at Belmont? I know with the trainers you mentioned, you probably race out of state quite a bit, but predominantly do you race in New York, or do you race pretty much wherever you can ship them?
Yeah, predominantly we're New York based, but we are looking to expand outward. We will run horses out of town when we have to, but majority of our partners want to run in New York. So, you know, if we have to ship a horse out of town to fit that horse to a specific venue, we do so. But all things equal, we prefer to run here in New York.
And year to year, do you tend to get new owners from outside, or do you have like the same people returning year after year? Do you have like the same basically core group of people who invest with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the core stays with us. Like I think we retain a lot of our partners, and the ones we don't, it's just because eventually, you know, there's a cap to how much people can, you know, put into this. But we're constantly growing. You know, where the sport itself, as you all know, is tough. It's important that anyone who gets involved understand that the majority of horses do lose money. We're really upfront on that. I mean, I have it on the website, ZillaRacingStables.com. I have that in multiple areas. It's on our front page of our website. Just make it, you know, make sure they all know that the majority of horses do lose money, but at the same time, I'm really big on making sure we're running in a ship as efficient as we can be. I look at every horse ownership, and this might sound like bad news, but it's just the truth. When you buy a horse, it's like jumping in a boat that's already leaking water. And you have to manage that horse properly, because you have two options.
You can make decisions that get water out of the boat, which is put them in races where they fit. Whether you buy a horse for $1 million, $500,000, 20,000, or a 5,000 claimer, makes no difference. Once you buy the horse, the purchase price no longer matters. Every day that horse trains, he's giving you feedback on what type of ability he has, what his potential is. And it's important that you identify, where he fits. So we have to make sure, even though it's a sport where majority of horses lose money, it's not an excuse to lose money. So we have to make sure we're managing our horses properly, listening to the feedback they're giving us. And just like playing poker, the hand is always changing. As new cards come onto the table, you have to keep reassessing. Every time that horse trains, every time he races, he's giving you feedback. So we place a lot on our shoulders to make sure we're being as efficient as we can and to make decisions that get water out of the boat so we can sail, and make it to our destiny. But if you don't manage them properly, you will sink. And ultimately, I think all the partnerships, the majority of them that are here tonight, and just owners in general, the ones who rise to the top and survive, they're the ones that get that, pretty quickly. And if you don't get it, you're going to get driven out of the business because it's a really competitive business as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you tell us a little bit about the selection process? You said you have a variety of different horses. I know that you buy at the sales, but you also claim. So can you tell us in both of those instances, how do you go about selecting the horses that run under the Zilla banner?
So when we first started, we were starting out with claiming partnerships, and we also use Linda Rice. We started with Linda Rice, and we just started working with her again. At Saratoga, we won a race with her first off the claim just last week. When we first started, we started with claiming horses, but then we started to buy 2-year-olds at the auction. I started working with Oracle Bloodstock, Connor Foley, Jim Hatchett. Been working sales with them for about 9 years now. They're just a great group of people to work with. They taught me so much. I attend the sales personally, and they've given me so much knowledge about how to look at a horse, and really enjoy working with them. They've been a backbone to all our selections that we bought, all our 2-year-olds and some yearlings. And the claiming partnership, the claiming horses, I used to it got off kind of slow because I would sit around waiting for the trainer to call you up and say, hey, I like a horse, you should look at this horse to claim. And there wasn't enough horses being presented to me. So I started to take it under my own, wing to get the form. I learned, years ago how to read magazine sheets and Thorograph and Thor Manager, watching replays, understanding, the condition book inside out for New York. It's so important that you understand what races are available, what conditions a horse has or has not used up. The age of the horse is important, especially as they advance through their 3-year-old campaign. And watching replays. So now I began kind of a proactive process of pushing claims out to the trainer. And then I'm also working with a couple other not partnerships, but owners who put in significant amount of money and claim horses with us. We kind of do a little group text and kick ideas back and forth. And ultimately they'll send me horses. I'll give them a final review. And because the trainers are busy, and I kind of feel if you sit around waiting for the trainer to present you a horse, you're going to end up sitting around for a while. And like I said earlier, the demand for claiming partnerships right now is so big. When we find a horse we want to claim, I can have a partnership filled within 30 seconds. And I'm turning people away. Mm-hmm. The demand is so high.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I see Aaron opened up his mic. Yes, Aaron?
Yeah. One thing I'm friendly with Mike is one thing Mike's partnerships have that a lot of the other partnerships that didn't have today is he offers a no bills option as well. And maybe he could talk about that. Most people like today talked about bills. For the people who want to get involved with Zilla, he does a few horses where there's no bills and the trainer pays the bills. And maybe he can expand on that for a difference of from some of the other people that were on today. Sorry. Good luck.
No, thank you, Aaron. Thank you. Mike, would you mind?
Yeah, so I think it was, as far as I know, Drawing Away Stable they used to do these no expense deals where basically the trainer pays all the bills and the owners just put up, a certain amount of money to pay for the horse. And there's like a one-time fee that kind of goes towards the administrative cost and all the other stuff to, keep things going. But then the partners get no bill. So if you claim a horse for $40,000 and that horse needs 6 months off, like those partners are basically just sitting, not paying a thing. And in return, usually the trainer will keep 60 to 65% of the net purse. Depends on how it's structured. So the best way to look at it in a no expense model is you're kind of giving up some of the upside, because if you claim a horse that's really successful, you're going to give up some of that, the financial return you would have gotten. But your downside is really eliminated because you can't lose any more than what you put in to acquire the racehorse. And I think it's a good model for horses that, what I found is if a horse is going to gross about $90,000 or less, you actually would be better off in a no expenses model. If the horse starts to earn 100,000, 150, or anything more than 90, then you're actually going to be better off being in a traditional model where you're paying the bills. So when a lot of partners ask me, like, should they do a no expenses model or should they do a traditional model where they pay the bills? I think the best way to judge it is if you think this horse could earn $90,000 or more over a year period, or 45,000 over 6 months, like, whatever, then you would be better off paying the bills. So you have to realize, like when I put out a partnership or a claiming offer, if I put out a cheaper horse, say like a 20,000 claimer, I get a lot of partners who want to take a bigger piece of the cheaper horse. And the more expensive horse, they want to take a smaller percentage. Mm-hmm. And I always try to steer them away from that, because the cheaper horses still cost the same amount of money to take care as the more expensive horse. The cheaper horse it's kind of going back to that thing I was talking about, the bunch of water coming into the boat. The cheaper horses are running for such, much less purse money that there's only so much water they can get out of a boat. Mm. So it's harder actually, to survive actually having cheap horses. Yeah, you can lose more on a higher end horse, but you also have more flexibility in dropping a horse down in class should you need to, get him, put him in a race to get more competitive, because they're claiming horses and they don't all maintain their best form. So when you're claiming at the bottom, if that horse loses his form in any way, like, you're really going to struggle to exit that partnership, and the horse is going to struggle to find races where he can be competitive. And I feel the cheaper the horse, the lower the purse structure, the more narrow that margin of error is. Whereas when you claim at the higher level, you can still drop your horse quite a bit. The purse money is going to be substantially higher, and you can still, survive.
Okay. Does anybody else have a question for Mike? Mike, I just had one more question for you quickly before we let you go. And is there some flexibility within Zilla in terms of if you find that there's a bigger demand, let's say, for people who want claiming horses specifically, or like, because I would think that changes year to year a little bit. You have your core people that return year after year, but you might have some, maybe next year's owners look a little bit different than last year's owners. So do you adjust a little bit in terms of the type of horses you buy depending on who the owners you have at that particular moment?
Yeah, we do. And, it's kind of, what's tough on us is, I kind of look at where we are at this stage. We're kind of like a AA baseball player. So baseball players will start off in rookie ball, A ball, AA, AAA in the pros. And a lot of our purchases when we buy horses at sales, like, we're buying kind of on the cheaper side. The majority of our horses are, $75,000 type range horses. And occasionally, like, we just bought a $200,000 2-year-old who just ran, poorly first time out yesterday. It was disappointing. We expected more. And you feel that pressure because we get one shot. We buy the one $200,000 horse, and it has to work out, or else it's like a baseball player gets put into the big leagues from AA, but he gets one at bat. And if he swings and misses or doesn't hit the home run, it's like, okay, we have to go back to AA and start buying more cheaper horses. Like, you kind of feel like there's pressure, whereas like the bigger outfits, they get multiple at bats. They can go to a 2-year-old sale and buy a $500,000 horse, 6 horses for $200,000, $1 million horse. So they get a lot of swings and misses themselves, but they get so many at bats that they're going to hit home runs and things like that. So like yesterday when our horse ran for 200, he was training really well. The expectations were really high, but even 200,000 really is not that expensive at a 2-year-old sale, but it's expensive for us. And I don't have a lot of partners who can afford that much animal. Mm-hmm. So the pressure was higher yesterday. And like when I bought the horse, I almost wanted to just put him in the garage and like bring him out as like a 5-year-old. Cause I was like, but it's true though. Like you get less shots, so I kind of feel after yesterday, like, okay, now any of the partners who did invest that much money to buy the $200,000 horse, they're not going to jump in line and buy the next one. You know what I mean? So now I have to kind of like adapt, probably shift back more in towards the cheaper market again. We've done well there, get some base hits in that market, and then maybe take another swing for a more expensive horse, at a future sale. But yeah, like if I bought a $200,000 horse right now and try to get my partners to bite on them, they'd probably be like, yeah, I'll pass, because they're very in and now moment. So had he won yesterday, I could probably go out and buy 3 horses for $200,000.
Yeah, definitely. Well, unless we have any other questions, we're going to let Mike go.
Thank you.
Is somebody okay? I don't know if somebody's coming. Hold on a second, Mike. I'm not sure if somebody wants to ask a question or somebody's jumping on. Kurt, can you hear us? Are you on? Did you have a question for Mike? Kurt? No? Okay, maybe that's a no. I'm thinking that might be a no, but Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. And as I said, you guys at least you guys have had some success at Saratoga this season. So it's been good luck going forward.
Thank you. If you don't mind me asking, how much longer is this going to go? I mean, something I should stick around and listen and
no, I think what we'll probably do is, if you'd like, I'm going to ask Len Green if he'd like to speak to us. We're going to talk a little bit about, everything in terms of taxes and all those good things that Len can advise us on. And then we'll probably just do an update on our fillies. We'll ask, I see Rob Masiello's on. So no, I mean, if you wanted to jump off, that's perfectly fine. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Len, I've seen you were writing notes. You were very, very, you were concentrating very hard on whatever you were writing. And I know you had probably some comments for us. And I think we had a couple, I think Vince, they had mentioned a little bit. I know Vince mentioned that they use you guys, or they use you for their taxes or for their, I guess, as an advisor. But if you can tell us a little bit, any thoughts just off the top of your head, and it doesn't even have to be about any of the specific partnerships, any top thoughts about this call today that jump to mind right away?
Yeah, again, it's great. And hello again to a lot of people I've met and talked to, et cetera, kind of thing. We're the advisors to about 450 people in the horse business, including 16 partnerships. So it's always interesting to see where each partnership tries to focus in on, and then what it means to the people on this call, kind of thing. And, you start off by saying, hey, who's going to be the potential people to get in this game? And you start with, okay, we love the horse business, and then let's take the next step. Let's join something, including what you're doing here on the Empire Club, because you're getting a chance to hear about it, and you're not just jumping in the pool, and the pool has a lot of sharks in it, okay? And unless you know what to look for, I don't think you have a chance in the world of making any money. I disagree with that there's no chance to make money. I think there's some basic rules that you can do to make money in this business if that's what you want to do, okay? If you don't make money, at least have a tax deductible so 50% of it comes back to you. So that's important. And just to emphasize that again for a moment, keep track of your hours. These hours count as active hours. When you go to the racetrack, it counts as active hours kind of thing. So therefore, even though you have other businesses, this may very well be active. And therefore, if you do spend some money on it, it becomes deductible for you kind of thing. And again, Christina, I really believe that if you treat any horse investment as a mutual fund, I don't agree that necessarily one area satisfies everything, okay? I really like what Mike is doing in the sense that if you want to be in the claiming game, which is fast action, well, then it's there, okay? But don't go in and say, hey, I want to do a my racehorse kind of thing where I have 1% of something or other, because again, all you're doing is saying I'm a partner, but you're not really a partner. What you want to do is you want to get into something where you can talk to people and do things, and there's not all these kinds of people involved in it. You want the opportunity to talk to a trainer. You want the opportunity to go to the back. You want the opportunity to come down to Monmouth Park, okay? And not just bet on a horse, but actually go down to the paddock, et cetera. Kind of. I think that's really where it's fun. But I think the mutual fund approach really makes some sense. Yes, the fillies certainly have residual, but then again, if you want to go into breeding, if you don't want to go into breeding, well, then maybe you want to hit a better chance for the home run. So maybe you want to have a better chance to get it. And I think that going back to what Mike is saying, don't just buy one piece of one horse. Try to buy a couple of pieces of a lot of horses. Christina, again, and this is nothing against what we're doing here, why doesn't Empire have a horse or two that, other than the way you're doing it? I think I'm sure that there's some of the partners who may very well want to invest in something and have a chance to pick it out and do things with it, because you've got the other element. You got people who like each other and talk to each other, et cetera. And you got you involved, okay, who really is knowledgeable of this game kind of thing and can help answer questions. Okay, so again.
Now, Len, you had also once, because I know we've had you on before and you talked to us about taxes and you talked to us about a lot of like investing. You also had said one thing, and I know one of our members Shane had come up to me and said, I got my credit card because you had said about having your credit card specifically for racing. And that stuck in my mind too, that a lot of times people don't realize they can clock the hours in all of these endeavors that they're doing, just going to the racetrack or being on this call or having a credit card. So from today, like all the groups that we had on today pretty much said you're better off investing a little in several horses over investing a lot in one horse. And so what other thing, like from a tax perspective or just from a financial perspective, what else would you add to that?
Okay, it was very interesting today. Okay, I got a call from somebody who said, I'm using a national CPA firm and I have a very successful business in New York. And they told me that if I have a successful business in New York outside the horse business, then everything I do in the horse business is passive. And I said, it's too bad they don't know anything about taxes. Because that's not the truth at all. But make it so. Okay, if you use another account, go to them and say, hey, here's my horse operations, and it's separate from my personal. I have a separate credit card. I keep, things separate. I have a separate bank account, and I treat it like a business, because now you've checked off 4 of the 9 things that you have to do to be actively involved in business. I also attend seminars. I also do podcasts. Now you've checked off 2 more things. Okay. The more check marks you make, the more you're active, and the more you make it easier for who's ever doing your tax return. If they don't really understand the business, okay, now you've separated it, because the number one thing is I treat it like a business.
Aaron, you came up. Did you have a question for us?
No, I don't want Aaron asking questions now. Come on.
I just had one quick Len Green story about being aggressive and taking, you know, for a while I lived on a small horse farm, and he had me go around counting a certain type of tree that was deductible. And then he told me if I went and found a car that had 6,000 torque, that could be written off as farm equipment. So I found a Range Rover that you could, you know, had 6,000. So there are so many great avenues of deductions, you know, like Mike, and I asked Mike from Zilla the other day about, you know, putting a horse right into use. You get a 50% deduction on a yearling and stuff like that. So there are a lot of avenues, even if you're not winning money, to actually offset a lot of your income and really use it as a great tax advantage.
I also told Aaron to go to the barn and shovel some shit, because that will really prove that he's actively involved.
And it served him well. It has served him very well. Len, I have a question. Can you explain to us the difference between passive, because now I've heard it mentioned a couple of times in terms of investments. Can you just give us a quick explanation about what the passive investment is?
Okay, there's 3 kinds of investment. The worst is hobby, okay? Because in a hobby, okay, you don't get any deductions at all for anything you've laid out. What's a hobby? A hobby is you're running it like for fun. Okay, I'm only doing this for fun. Okay, you mix your bank accounts with the horse and your personal. You don't keep a record of hours. That's a hobby. No deduction at all. Next, passive. Okay, most people think passive is, hey, if I have another business, okay, this is really just another passive business, because the other one is active. And if you incur expenses in a passive business, it's only tax deductible when you have passive income, not dividends or interest, but another business in which you're also not active. So again, that's a real trap, because it does no good to have passive loss carryovers if you can't use them. And then active, 9 tests, most of which, okay. And again, drop if you have a question, just drop us a question, okay, to Christina and I'll send you the 9 tests. But basically, it's what I've told you here, and you're already there. You're already there. That's the silly part of it. So you guys are primed to get to the next step and make an investment in a horse, because if it does have expenses more than income, they become tax deductible for you.
Okay, great. Thank you. That was a great. Does anybody else have a question for Len? I think that's, yeah.
Hey, again, just last thing, okay?
Yes.
I am not criticizing you, okay? I also teach, okay? And I start off the day by saying, the best part of this is if you ask a question, because there's no stupid question. That's the way you really learn, because we're addressing something. And okay, you can do what Aaron does a lot with me. He says, this is not my question. It's a question from somebody else who asked me, blah, 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 blah. But ask the question.
Yeah.
Because then that gives you the other insight of it. And last thing, if you really want to see a great podcast, okay, Christina did one with the other day, okay, and it's just, you got insights into people, okay, that are doing things with it. She did one with Gabe the other day, and she also had Liz Crow on and Anna Seitz on, and you saw a different aspect of the racing that I had never seen in certain pressures. It's worth seeing, okay?
Thank you, Len. That's actually with Gabby, TVG's Gabby Gaudet. She and I did a podcast for TDN together, and we had Anna Seitz on, Liz Crow, and also Christina Blacker, who's from TVG as well. And so we were just talking about women in racing and also having families in racing, some of the challenges. And it's interesting because a lot of the men, it was men, a lot of whom responded and were like, you know, we found that like riveting, which I thought was, we thought that might not, we didn't know that would happen, but that's kind of what happened. So if you guys want to watch it, it's on, if you go on the homepage on the TDN. Thank you, Len, for plugging, helping plug it. But thank you. Yeah, if you guys want to watch it, it's on the TV, on the TDN site. I know, I'm just going to see if Rob is still here. Rob, are you still there? I just wanted to ask you, maybe if you could give us, thank you, Len. First of all, thank you always for your insight. It's wonderful. And congratulations. You've had just a wonderful stretch. We had Proven Strategies. He finished second in the Red Bank at Monmouth, and we had a few members that came out. But Len, you guys have been having tremendous success of late with your young horses.
And of course, I owe it all to Aaron.
Mm-hmm. Where's Aaron? I lost. There's
Aaron. In that case, I don't owe it to Aaron.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm here. Thank you for the plug.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Len. And Rob, just before, thank you. You've been, I know that you've been on most of the call, or if not all the call. And I just wanted to know if maybe you had a couple, like an update on the fillies that you wanted to, I know that there wasn't really anything scheduled for them in the immediate future, but maybe you wanted to just give us what they're up to.
Both good updates. So I'll start with the 2-year-old filly, Boom Roasted, who is our practical joke filly with Tom Morley. She was at Patty Hogan's place for the last couple of months. She had the big stress fracture in her left hind tibia. The good news there is that she's all good. She has a excellent prognosis for further issues with that tibia. So she's actually back at Tom Morley's place at Belmont, and I believe she's been there for the last 2 to 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So Tom's schedule is he's obviously was up in Saratoga for the, he goes down a day or two every week. But he's back at Belmont this week. Then he's heading out to Kentucky sales. But I know he's really looking forward to seeing this filly train this week, and so we'll have a little bit more to say. But you know, she's certainly a filly that we're not going to make Belmont in the fall with her, but hopefully she's a New York bred. So she should, hopefully things go well. She'll be running some point in Aqueduct. We'll just have to kind of wait and see how she does over the next 60 days or so.
Okay.
And then the races.
And then Community Adjusted, she came out of her race okay, was our understanding.
The one thing Christoph had said was just maybe her feet a little bit. They had been training her in a bar shoe, and he wondered a little bit if her feet were biting her. Mm-hmm. That turf course that it's ironic that, most of the meet, there was just a lot of rain, but that was one of the few days during the meet that it was a course. Obviously with her too, I think the break really cost us quite a bit. She kind of got sideswiped coming out of there, and, she's typically pretty forward, and she was the interesting thing is the magazine number, which is what the Clements used, was actually the best number of her career. Mm-hmm. One of those fillies, it's interesting. She's always just kind of been a half cut below the 3-year-olds. She's been running numbers. You see a lot of these stakes level fillies have been running, buyer speed figures in the low mid 80s, and we're kind of stuck in the mid to high 70s. So we're not far. We're progressing. We're not quite there yet. So I think the thing, having spoken to Miguel and Christoph about it, we really like to just maybe got her back to Belmont after our last race, give her a little bit of time, and really just try to make sure we get one, really good race into her before the turf season ends in New York, and just so it kind of can give us a little bit of a line we're at with her. I just think looking at her physically, you've seen her. She's a big, that she's physically a filly that will potentially move forward next year. I just think that there's a little bit more filling out she could do that would really help her. She tends to be a little bit light. But let's see what happens. I think from my perspective and the Clements perspective, if we get one more good race into her, maybe give her, she'll have had, I guess it would be 5 or 6 races this year. Maybe give her a little bit of a break and kind of do what we did last winter, where we try to get her back February, March for a 4-year-old campaign. So let's see what happens. But that's sort of the plan is, first level allowance race. I think we also, the other thing too, I should say, is we probably want to go back to going 10 furlongs. I think that she maybe was a little bit. So probably look for her 1.25 miles at Belmont, sometime.
Okay, that's good. Okay, that's a good update. And I think that really, I think everybody, that just kind of goes back to what every one of those, everyone who joined our call today, and even what Len was saying a little bit earlier, is why you may want to, for lack of a better word, diversify and have an investment, a small investment in several horses, because as we know, horses, they're living, breathing creatures, and they don't, we've been so fortunate to have a horse, and I was saying this to Len the other day, we've been so fortunate to have a horse like Proven Strategies, who's been running really consistently. Not only does he run consistently, but he also runs, he typically runs his race, and he'll be in the money. He's there. And I think, we've experienced where some of our other horses, did it my way, didn't make it to the races. And that's just part of racing, right? So I think to all of our guests' points here today, it's something to consider in terms of going forward and having these kind of investments, and maybe having like an investment in different horses. You see the value in it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I guess everybody can see the value in that. Oh, so I think we have a couple of questions. Let's jump, we'll get to both of you. So let me start. Ray, you're unmuted, so why don't you go ahead, and then we're going to come to you, Larry and Marguerite, next.
I've been listening. I just wanted to offer up that I became a member of ClearStar last month, and if anybody had any questions or wanted to know my experiences, I'd be more than happy to share it.
Okay.
But they're great people. We good access to Michael, good access to Rick. They meet pretty much regularly every Saturday morning. All the partners and people come in. You get to go to the barn, see the horses, watch the workouts. Anybody has any questions, let me know. But they're a great organization, great people. I've looked at all the other ones, and this one just was a really good fit for me.
Okay, nice. Okay, and
Very
I think that's a good point that you're making there, because I said this in the email. And I'm going to say this again. I said this at the beginning of this call, but most of you were not on. We're not endorsing any one partnership over another. We're just we're trying to introduce you guys to several different clubs. We'll probably have another one of these calls, and we're going to have 4 or 5 different partnerships come on for that. So it's basically, to what Ray just said, to his point, is not every club is going to be the perfect fit for you, but it's finding out what it is that really resonates with you and in the direction you want to go. So I think, and Len had pointed that out. Len, we've talked about this with him as well. So that's the purpose of this call. It's not but I'm glad, thank you, Ray, for saying that, because I think that's a really great point. Larry, Marguerite, I think your mic is on. I don't know which one of you wanted to ask us a question. Larry?
I just want to, first of all, I want to say, Christine, I hope that you are doing better or well now that you had your encounter with COVID. And I also wanted to say, because of the hurricane and the aftermath, we were in Connecticut at the time, and we were awakened to a call that dam upstream from the river that we're on was possibly going to burst. And so whoever here experienced any problems with the hurricane, I hope everybody did well, and also all the stables did well, and all the businesses associated with the sport did well, because New Jersey especially was a bad place to be during the storm. So we just wanted to say, I hope we actually did well. The dam break. So.
Okay. Thank God. Well, I live in New Jersey as well, but we typically, when flooding situations, we don't really experience that much down here where we are on the shore. Kyle, you're in New Jersey as well, aren't you? Aren't you in North Jersey?
Yeah, I'm in Union now. Little bit of street flooding, but I've got a newer house, so
okay. So you were good.
It did better than some of the neighbors.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Larry, for saying that, and thank you. I appreciate it. I'm feeling much better. I know I've received all of your emails, and many of you have sent that. Now it's about about a month in the rear view mirror. So thank God we've kind of moved on from that. But thank you very much for everybody's well wishes while I was going through that, and also for the floods. But I think that's it, guys. We did really well. We actually stayed right on schedule, which I was very concerned about the whole time, keeping everybody on schedule, make sure everybody got the same amount of time. But I think that was great. And if you guys have any more questions, or you want to get in touch with any of the partnerships, you can either check them out directly or email me, and then I will direct your email to where it needs to go. But thank you everybody for joining today. Have a good one.
Thank you. Take care.